What's up, everyone? Let me boot up the game. So I was asked on Discord by Lumi to give a little tutorial on how to make I don't even know what you would call it. It's a detail that I created in one of the block designs in my upcoming level Starchild, and Lumi wants to know how she can replicate it because she really liked it. So I figured I'd just make a tutorial. Oh no, I'll just choose this background. Um, and I'll edit in a picture of the original one that I made so you can kind of see it. But I'm gonna be making something similar today and showing you guys how I made that. Cause like I said, she wanted to be able to replicate something like that because she thought it looked cool. Okay, so first of all, choose a background color that you like, and I would center this color around the the color scheme of the level. So if you were making a purple level and you wanted the details to be in general purple with some, first of all, actually let me show you something I like that's like my friend, the color wheel. When making a level, color theory is very important. And generally, you want to try and make the color scheme of the level one of these color, like, color combinations, because these are generally the color combinations that look best. And so for my level Starchild, I chose an analogous color scheme. And the part in the level that I made this detail for is blue. Background is like a deep blue. So I'm making the details purple and like sort of a lighter blue. Mostly purple though. And so I would say just pick one of these things and figure out just what color scheme you want your level to be, and make sure you make the background the color in the middle, this one. And so, like, for example, if you wanted your level to be red, you could have the other details be orange and pink. And that's what a lot of other levels like Magma Bound use, is they use kind of an orange, pink, and red color scheme, because those three colors go really well together. And so, yeah, just pick a color combination and, stick with it. And with this one, the one on Canva, you can kind of adjust this, but it doesn't really matter because you're going to be doing all sorts of shades and tints anyway. But, and if you don't know, shade is the amount of black, tint is the amount of white, and tone is the amount of gray. So if you ever hear that, that's what that means. So like, if I put it more this way, that would be adding more shade. If I put it more this way, that would be adding more tint. And if I put it this way, that'd be adding more tone. But anyway, I'm going to, so that it looks a little bit different from the one I'm making in my level, I'll just go ahead and do a red color scheme. Why not? And so for this one, whatever background color you chose, you're going to want to make, and for this specific example, it works best if the background is dark. So what I would do is I would just make a dark version of your base color for the background. Okay? And I would even make it a little bit darker than that. Okay, and then, so what I did first is I took some of these 3D lines. I wouldn't use the actual ramps because then they have hitboxes and it's not as easy to rotate them. And so what I would do is just make a diamond out of these 3D lines, and if you want, I think it makes it a little easier. You can center them on the blocks as if they were going to be using the actual ramps. You see, now it's more centered. And so make sure you set these to a layer. Always do layering when you're decorating, because layering is very important, and it can help you stay organized. It's very useful, and you should definitely take advantage of layering. Okay, so now, or actually first, what I would do is, I think this is just a personal preference, but you can leave this white if you want. You could even set it to a different color if you want. But I think when using things with a lot of glow, it looks best when the outlines are like a grayish color. If if not if not a gray, then like a more toned version of your background color. So like for example, just do next free 2. You could make this outline gray, or you could also, this button is very useful by the way, make sure you take advantage of it. You could also make it more like a toned or a lighter version of your background color. But for the sake of this, I'm just going to leave it a plain gray. And you could even decrease the opacity if you want, but I'm just going to leave it solid. Oh, and also another thing I forgot. Set it to, for block design, I would put it to T1, because I just think that would look the best. Or not look the best, it would work the best, because you want your block design to be from maybe B1 to T4, because then, or maybe even B1 to T3, because that way you can set your like base blocks to B2. You can make ground spikes and saws behind the block design, these 3 layers and stuff in the background B5. And then you could make like foreground stuff, like effects that go in front of the player or something on T4. So for the block design, make sure you're using these upper middle layers. I'm gonna go ahead and put this one on B1 actually. Okay, and then next what I did is I took these black slopes and I just filled in the diamond. Now this is gonna be the base block of this design. And I would set these to the same layer, and they're already on that layer. Actually, no. Set the outlines 1 layer in front of those. So make sure these are T1, and then the black ones are like B1. Or if you're using it 1 layer higher, just make sure the black ones are 1 layer below the outlines. Okay? And you want to make sure you have these black ones, because in the design I made, the colors are flashing, as you can see in the video of the one I made. The colors are flashing, and so if the black base isn't there, you'd be able to see into the base block of the block design, which, unless it's a very dark color, it's fine. But if it's not a really dark color, then I would put the black ones, the black blocks there. Okay, and then what I did is I put in another layer of these. Keyboard commands are very useful if you're playing on PC. Make sure you take advantage of those. It saves a lot of time. And then just go ahead and put these 1 layer above the outlines. 1 layer above the outlines. You know what? Scratch that. Put these above those. It's the glow that you want to put above the outlines. Okay, and then once you have these, what I would do is I would set each of these to its own group. So I'll put this one to group 1, this one to group 2. Actually, and if you're running to make the flashing pattern that I used, make sure you go in a circle, in either clockwise or counterclockwise. It doesn't really matter. You choose. And then once you have all those assigned to a group, you can move on to the next layer and put some glow. And you can do your own variation of this. I'm just going over how I made my version of it, but you can do your own variation, of course. You don't have to follow my tutorial. word for word. And in fact, I wouldn't follow my tutorial word for word because it's good to experiment and come up with some ideas of your own. And then put these above your outlines. Make sure they're above the outlines. I think those are, yep, they are. Okay, good. And add these to the same groups that you added your white slopes to. And make sure they're symmetrical, of course. I'm pretty sure that's symmetrical. So this one would be 2. This one would be 3. And then this one would be 4. Okay, and once you have these, go ahead and select both the slopes and the glow. This is why it's important to layer, because if you didn't layer, you would have to try and select them all with all the other objects getting in your way. So that's why you want to layer, so that selecting things becomes very easy. So you're going to select your white slopes and your glow and set it to a new color and make it black blending. And what this is going to do is it's going to make them invisible for now. The keyword is for now. And what this allows you to do is come over here. And if you use a pulse trigger, then when you illuminate these, the blending doesn't change. And so you don't want to use color triggers because then it can change the blending. And so that's why you just want to select these to black blending. And then that way, also, when the pulse is over, they go back to being black and invisible. And the glow also needs to be black blending because you don't want the glow to illuminate unless your square itself is illuminated. And you don't want the glow to just be black either, because you'll be able to see that it's black, and that's not really how light works. So, you can set this to your first color, and I would go back to the color wheel and choose a color from your color combination. I'm going to make it orange. Actually, no, I'll make it pink. So you're going to want to make it the color from color combination. Sorry, I can't talk. And these are the options I did for my pulse trigger. You can choose different options if you want. But these are the options I chose. Again, it's good to experiment. And so you're going to want to make this a lighter version of your color combo. And what you see, maybe, did I set it? Oh, make sure you choose group instead of channel. Channel will change the color channel, but not the group. And since we set these to groups, we need to select a group. So make sure you press a group. What that's going to do is it's going to pulse that first one. And you see how I was saying, like, you don't want the glow to be illuminated unless the triangle itself is illuminated. So with the black blending, you can see the glow only illuminates if the triangle illuminates, and that kind of gives it the impression that it's actually shining, which is what we want. Okay. And then you're just, to make it the rotating, or the seemingly rotating, you're just gonna copy and paste this. Okay, yeah, in my level, I put them each 3 apart. And you're going to set each consecutive one to the next group. And then you have this. And I'm just, for the sake of it being faster, my level was at 3 times speed at this part. So I'm going to set it to 3 times speed so that it goes faster. Or you could just decrease the distance between them. You don't have to put them 3 apart. That's just what I did in my level, so it's what I'm going to do here. Okay. And now, you'll notice it stops. What can we do? You can do this, but that is a very bad idea, and I'll tell you why. As you go along, if you're just copy and pasting triggers, this object count is going to go up exponentially. And you do not want that because that makes the level unoptimized. So what you can do is, back in 2.1 you had to make the spawn loop manually, but in 2.2, thank God, because creating spawn loops was very annoying. If you've ever tried to make one, you'll know. 2.2 created this button that automatically creates spawn loops, and what this does is it repeats the actions of these triggers indefinitely, so you don't have to copy and paste the triggers over and over again. And you'll see it just continues doing this. And so that's pretty much the basics of this design that I made. Again, you can make it different colors. Like for my level, I had the background blue, and then each of these a lighter purple instead of a lighter pink. And so mine looked more like this. But you can do it however you want. And then a few more things. You don't have to do these. This is essentially it. But if you want to add just a little bit more detail and make it pop a little more, you can do a little bit of texturing and shading to make it look more 3D and to make it stand out a little more. And so what I did for the shading, it's really simple since it's geometric shapes. You could just do this again, and then pick the direction of light you want your, or pick where the light source you want is. So, like, let me just place this object, for example. If I wanted my light source to be going this direction, so imagine the sun is right here. And if you put the sun right here, you would have highlights this way and shadows this way, because the direction of the light would be shining on this face. Same goes if you had it over here. If you had it in the middle, you'd have highlights on both of these two faces since the light is going this way, and shadows on these two faces. So what I did for my level is I put it in this corner, and so the highlights are more directed at this one. So what I did is I put white with a low opacity, high enough to notice, but low enough that it doesn't affect the design too much. You will be able to notice it, like when the lights aren't shining. And also make these on the same layer as the glow. And you'll see, you don't notice it that much when it's lit up, but you can notice it when it's not lit up, which is what really gives it the impression that it's 3D. And then for this one, it's not completely opposite to the light source, but it's also not directly in front of it. So you don't want it to be black, but you do want it to be darker than the first one. So just put it at a lower opacity than the one that's actually hitting the light source. And then for this one, oh, I actually changed color 1. That's not good. Make it next free and then do it. Because, I don't know, color 1 might be your outline color or something. So you don't want to change color 1. Make sure you press the next free button. Unless you do want to change color 1, by all means, but I don't want to change color 1. And then for this one, you can just delete this one, because that one's going to be black since it's facing away. And so now, if you, like, look at this, it kind of gives the impression that there's a light source coming up here, this way, and shining on this face. And so if you go back here and you watch it rotate, you can kind of see that as each side lights up. And then the last thing I did to recreate mine is I added a little bit of texture to make it pop a little bit. So I can't remember what object I used. I'm pretty sure it was this one. No, it wasn't that one. Whatever, I'll just use this one anyway. if you want to add a little bit of texture, you can choose one of these like objects that's kind of chaotic, and put it above everything. No, you don't actually. Yeah, you can't use that one. And then set it to black with a really low opacity. And then if you look at this, scale it up a little bit, you can kind of see what I did is I just copy and pasted it and rotated it a few times. That looks awful, but you can kind of move some of them around if you want to make it a little bit more interesting. But yeah, that adds a little bit of texture to it, and it like gives the impression that it's not perfectly even on each side. Which, I don't know, I think that looks a bit cool. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna even decrease the gray so that doesn't stand out as much. And now the focus is on the crystals. And that even makes the 3D-ness of it pop out a little more. And so yeah, that's pretty much all I did. Oh, I did forget one thing. If you want to make it pop out a little bit more, what you can do is, this is what I did. I put another piece of glow right in the middle, and I put it above all the other glow. Pretty sure it was that layer. Yep, it was. And I set it to the other complementary color. So in my case, it would have been a more lighter-ish blue. But if we were going with red, it would be a sort of orange. And for the sake of the example I was doing before, I'll change it back to red. And that, which means these would go back to being pink. And then for this, you just want to set it to, not that, your other complementary color, so like an orange, but make it like a dark orange and make it blending. And this is gonna make, and you can make it bigger if you want. I would even decrease the saturation a little bit more. And what this is gonna do is it's gonna like really, it's gonna add a pop of color that's gonna really complement your color scheme. And that doesn't look that good because it looks sort of brown. So I'd make it just a little bit more red. I wouldn't make it all the way red because you do want it to have a little bit of color pop, and it's not going to have as much if it's just red. So I would, yeah, not pink either, because that's going to just make it look samey. But yeah, that's pretty much what I did. And so, like, for example, if we were doing the color scheme I used, I made this a sort of lighter blue. I made all these, no, I do not want to do that. I made all these purple, and I made my background a dark blue. And yeah, so that's how I made it. I think I even actually made the glow in here a little bit darker of a blue and not so light. Yeah, that's more like it. And so yeah, that's what I did. That's how I created this design for my level. I made this tutorial for Lumi, but you can use it as well. But like I said, I would, you know, experiment with some colors, experiment with designs, experiment with the texturing, with the light source. You could even make it a different shape if you wanted to. It doesn't have to be a diamond. But yeah, that's how I made it. And this took me about 25 minutes. Yeah, that's about how long it took me the first time I made it. And yeah, also, if you, I did hear someone mention to me that you could, instead of having like this, individual pieces of glow, you could kind of make them smaller and like copy and paste them, but I wouldn't really do that because then with the copy and pasted glow pieces, it's going to be so oversaturated. And because blending is additive. And so you don't want to add too many pieces of glow because as you can see, it already looks white in the middle. You don't want it to look all the way fully white because then you won't be able to see the purple at all. If you add too many glow pieces though, it will look fully white. So that's just a little thing to keep in mind. I wouldn't personally take that tip to make the glows pieces smaller and just copy and paste it to make it fill the space more, because this looks fine. Like it looks fine. Each one is shining, you know, and because blending is additive, it's going to just look so bright if you do that. But yeah, that's how I made this, and if you want to make it too, by all means, go for it. But yeah, just remember you should experiment. Because that's really how you learn, is learning from other people, like watching tutorials and stuff like this, and then going off on your own and applying their ideas to your own stuff without copying them directly. So, using their same techniques and stuff, but still incorporating your own ideas into it and experimenting. But yeah, let me know in the comments if you want me to do more creating tutorials like this, because I definitely can if you guys want me to. And I will see you guys all later. Thanks for watching.